Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. Welcome this morning. Hope you're well, that there is goodness in your day. Good morning, everyone. On this chilly day, the sun is out, but it is still some breeze and some cool, as is the October winds that are upon us. I hope you're doing great and that there's joy in your day. Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. Good morning. Doing all right. Hey, Karen, good morning to you. Hope you're doing great this morning. This lovely day. It's going well. Good morning, everybody. All right, let's get going this morning. It is the 16th day of October on this Thursday. Welcome to 11:11. This morning I want to talk a little bit about just the experience I get to have last night and the experience I hope you'll take up over the next few months, which is the opportunity to see the show of Brian Fox's art here in the city. I know some of you might have to travel, but it's okay. The roads go there both ways. But it is this show, which is called In the Valley of the Shadow, and that it is the cost of walking with death. It began. This is a show that began 6 years ago, with Brian's invitation to submit a portrait or a painting for the building of the Vietnam Memorial Wall here in Fall River. And as he began to lean into this work, and as he began to work with the veterans that had fought that war, and as he began to spend some time with them in the effort to try and get the painting right, that what he discovered is that he began to be touched and be moved by the profound life that these men and women were living, and that what they were carrying as a result of their war service. And the way he began to be puzzled in some ways about how this guy who's just throwing charcoal on a canvas is actually transforming and touching the lives of incredible warriors of these past wars, and the way that they found his work on that piece so profoundly healing. And so a guy who had been making great art and in the portrait studio with patriots and rock stars, began to feel a call pivoting his work to work with veterans and work with particularly the images of war. And so in that work, he began to hear their stories, to make sure the details were right. And in his desiring to hear their stories and to hear to make sure that the things that the characters on his canvas were portraying were just right, that he began to open within these hardened veterans an incredible flow of healing. And this is and he was kind of puzzled by this, and we had a chance to talk about it. And I was really grateful for the opportunity to talk about it, and which is really what I want to bring to you today. Today's a little different than our usual, but But I want to bring it to you as a way of encouraging you to step into this artwork. Whether you've been touched by war or not, you have been. You are a part of a nation that has been at war for the past for the past nearly 20 years and has fought numerous conflicts. You have brothers and sisters to your left and right of you who have borne the battle, and that if you have lived with somebody that has borne that battle, you too bear the witness and the scars to that. But the thing is, the Bible actually has a lot to say about this. That the ancients knew how to do this. That, I mean, if there was ever a time and a place that the world was filled with warfare, and warfare as gruesome as any that we see today, it was the ancient world, and certainly the ancient Israelites. The ancient Israelites start without a place, without a country in the world, and without a territory, and God gives them this territory, but they have to fight for it. That there's that warfare is baked into the cake of the establishment of Israel as a people, and as a way, and God gives them a way in which this is to happen. Now you can say this is all horrific and barbaric, and it is, but it doesn't mean that it's not happening right now as you and I speak. That there are warriors on behalf of America out there somewhere, standing a post, standing a watch, ready to do violence on the nation's behalf, that have been sent into that place. There's this place where, if you remember, King David goes off to, he fights the Philistines, he fights David and Goliath, and he and his warriors come back to the people of Israel. And there is this moment, and this is in 1 Samuel. As they were returning home after David had killed the Philistine, the women came out from all the towns of Israel to meet King Saul with singing and dancing, with joyful songs and tambourines and lutes. This is a nod to what actually we see was a very ritualized process. There was a ritual that sent warriors off to war in ancient Israel, and there was actually a ritual that brought them back into relationship. There's a scholar by the name of Brad Kelly that has gone through this, and he's mapped this out, and that there were actually 5 stages for how warriors came home. I mean, think about this. That they were actually not only conscious of the fact that warriors were going out to do battle on their behalf, and that they needed encouragement from the population that they were defending to go do that in a ritual way, but they also had to bring them home in a particular way. And he talks about it this way. He says, first, there was the purification of warriors and captives and objects. So anything that came home wasn't allowed to go into the main town or the main city, that they actually lived outside in tents, and that in those tents the symbol of the warrior class in Israel was the tribe of Gad, and the tribe of Gad's symbol was a tent, was an army tent. It wasn't a sword, it was a tent, because it was the tent that actually was the place in which the warriors departed from and returned to. And so it was actually the central feature for the tribe of Gad, the warrior class of Israel. And so first they had this purification where they came in and they understood they had touched something unclean, that they had been a part of something brutal, the breaking of commandments. And that as they came back, the POWs, the slaves, the objects that they brought back, and themselves were cleaned and washed and ritually purified. The second thing was they kind of gave out the loot, whatever. There was this way of ritually distributing what had been taken in battle. Now we can say, well, that's kind of like bring home loot, but understanding. But the thing is, this is what they understood, is that there was particular significance in what physical objects people brought back from the battlefield, that those brought with them a particular amount of juju, and that had to be right, and there had to be and not just in compensation, but in it had to be tended to. Third was they would construct memorials and monuments. Now we managed to do that. Fall River is probably one of the greatest cities I've ever been to, with it in the way in which it memorializes those who have fought for it in terms of memorial and monument. Fourth is the time of celebration and procession. Then they would parade back into camp after being tended, after being ritually purified, after kind of dividing up spoils and everything getting set. And then there was the practice of corporate, what he calls corporate lament, grieving. That there was a way in which they heard the stories of sadness of what had happened. That the stories were the fact that the people that we loved had to go out and do something horrible, and they come back and they say, and that the people, not the warriors, hear my voice, not the warriors, but the people would lament for the fact that Israel had to go out and do these things, and that these were all done. Not because God commanded it, although God did command it. They're not simply keeping true to the law, but they understood they were for the wellness of the warriors. You see, warriors get sent to war, and then they get received back from war. They don't send themselves to war, although they might volunteer for the service. That's not saying that. But nobody just says, "I'm going to war today." It's done as a corporate act. It's done as a people and a body, that they are made a part of a squad, a team, a platoon, a company, a regiment, into an army, and then an army is sent out, and that army is sent out on behalf of the people who's sending it out, and that they were ritually prepared for battle to go out and ritually prepared to receive. And the residual and all of the defilement and the guilt and the shame of combat was met with purification, it was met with forgiveness, and was met with cleansing offered by the people of Israel for their warriors. Now, if you look at the Vietnam generation and what happened, and we document, we know well kind of how horrible the reception of warriors that were for them. But even in my generation of having that incredible experience of flying into Bangor and coming down and having the greeters at Bangor out there greeting us in the middle of the night, and how powerful that was, we still don't get this tending. Because what we don't often understand, we still don't hold this, because what we still are so highly individuated in the sense of like, hey, that's a you problem, it's not an us problem. And this is one of those problems, though, because you don't send yourself to war, you can't be received home from war. It actually requires the work of the people for whom did not go to war. And this, I tell you all this, and you may be bored stiff at this point, and I wouldn't blame you if you were, but I tell you all this to tell you to point out the power of this exhibition, and this 6 years of work that Brian has done, because what it does is it goes into those things, that guilt and that shame and that defilement of combat. Brian's work enters into that and purifies it and forgives it and cleanses it, because it becomes held by the wider community that sent it. You see, Brian isn't a veteran. He didn't serve. And that actually puts him in an incredibly powerful position to be able to care for and to love the people that did, because they can't bring themselves home in this real way. And particularly again for the Vietnam generation, but for all warriors for all warriors of all stripes, it is this creating space. It is this bearing witness to what had been done, this hearing of the stories, this coming out with joyful song into the corporate lament of sadness, to actually forgive that can actually allow forgiveness to enter into this journey. So friends, I hope you will make in the next, it runs in through December. Now the opening is noon to 4 on Saturday, but it runs through December. So I hope you will, and the Narrows is open all the time. They've got pretty liberal hours often. So you can go down and see that exhibition at pretty much whenever their hours are. You can check that out. But my encouragement is that you might, it is really about helping warriors to return their souls, into the life that they are living, the return of the soul into their being. One of my great mentors and friends, Ed Tick, wrote a book called War in the Soul. He spent his entire professional life helping heal the wounds of war by warriors that were suffering from post-traumatic stress and moral injury. I want to encourage you to go to the show, not just that, but I also want to encourage you to and understand that when you do, it's not just you're going to see something meaningful, which you will, but I think also it is a practice. It is a way of us ritually welcoming those who have borne the battle home. It is a way of healing the wounds, the scars, the breaking of shalom that takes place in the larger context of the world. Because when we stand in that place with those who have gone forward, when you stand in that place with those who have gone forward, who have moved to the sound of the guns, that you create a space in yourself. You create a space in the world. You create a space in society for them to welcome home. There will always be the people who don't get it, and that's fine. It's not required for everybody to understand. It's not required for the whole world to be right in order for salvation to come. If it is, we're all doomed. The reality is, Christ has already won the war. Christ has already overcome the grief and the sadness and the defilement and the baseness. Christ has already healed what is. It is simply us that as we bear witness to it, as we bring Christ's love to it with us and with whom we bear, that in all that which is broken may be mended, that which is defiled may be made pure, that which is carried in the depths of the heart in hatred may be forgiven, and that all shall be well. All manner of things shall be well. All shall be well, I know, in the words of the great Sister Julian. Peace and grace to you all, my friends. I hope you'll avail yourself in these days ahead of this great exhibition and this great work by Mr. Brian Fox and his dedication to the care of the world, of the healing of the world. Peace and grace to you all. We'll pick it up next week with another 11:11.